Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to part 2 of my Extra Utilities Mod Spotlight. In part 1 we covered a lot of the new mechanics that are available, including the QED, the transfer node upgrades that are available now, a bunch of different pipes, some new types of wood, dark glass, and we covered a bunch of the generators and the Ender Quarry and all its upgrades. So lots of stuff covered in part 1 of the Mod Spotlight here. We have a ton more to cover, so let's get started. So one of the nice features that was added to Extra Utilities somewhat recently is the multi-part functionality. So Forge multi-part, as you guys are familiar with, is what allows you to have covers and all that kind of cool stuff. Well, most things in Extra Utilities anymore are multi-parts, so you can go ahead and have multiple parts. You can, set up covers around pipes, and he even added pipe jackets, which are pretty neat decorative items. Basically, it's covers surrounding a piece of wool, and if you want, you can decorate your pipes a little bit just to make them look a little bit fancier. Neato. Now, seeing as we've been generating a bunch of energy, there's a bunch of different ways to now transfer it around if you are interested in getting your power out of your generator and sending it somewhere, for example. So let's see what our options are. First off, you can go ahead and get yourself an energy transfer node. Now, these guys do require a transfer node and a gold ingot and one of those breath first search upgrades, so it's a pretty expensive item, really, if you look at it. It does require the QED to craft as well. But what's nice about them is they can accept almost every type of energy. I think Minecraft Joules is almost depreciated at this point, so that'll probably going away soon, but it does accept thermal expansion energy, and it can also convert to IC2 power. So pretty much almost any power system can be converted from one to the other in the transfer nodes, and the way they work is pretty cool and similar to the item transfer nodes. All you really need to do, for example, is hook one up near to a generator, and it'll start filling up its own internal buffer of power. So you'll notice that it can, at default, hold about 10,000 RF, and it'll try to find a connection with which to store that power. If you use a energy pipe here, pretty cheap to make, luckily, you can hook those two up and it'll start sending the power into there. So you'll notice it's going to search for an inventory to place that power and go ahead and dump it in at a pretty decent rate. Nice. Now, if you didn't want to have one transfer node per generator, which is something I highly recommend, what you could have is maybe something like the following, where you might have an energy transfer node, and then you can get a type of pipe called the energy extraction pipe, which does require a bit of gold. But the nice thing about this is once you run your energy extraction pipes out of your generators and up to the transfer node, you'll notice that it's able to pull energy remotely from the generator and store it in the transfer node, and then the transfer node can be used to run some power directly into, for example, an energy cell. And you'll notice now that energy is going to find its way into here. I better break this line just to prevent that from being a problem, and you'll notice that now it's starting to drain energy into the cell, and it's pulling the energy out of the furnace generator. Cool. So you can have multiple energy extraction pipes connected here. For example, we could do something like this, and eventually it'll, get that power into the RF and pull it out of the survivalist generator. Neat, right? There we go. That should be a little bit easier to traverse. There it goes. Cool. So that power is going into there, which is then directly going into the energy cell. So those are your different types. There's one more type of hyper or transfer node called the hyper energy transfer node. You're going to need a block of bedrockium ingot, just one of those ingots, and 4 transfer nodes. Now, this guy is capable of storing and transmitting a huge amount of power. For example, the Nether Star generator generates a ton of power very quickly, and you want to be able to capture that power as quick as you can and pull it out and do something with it. So you're going to want something like the hyper energy transfer node here. This thing is capable of storing a whopping 1 million RF total in its buffer here, and it's able to transmit that to a bunch of different places. So it can transmit it very quickly, and it can hold a huge amount. So the hyper energy transfer node is pretty much a beefed up version of the transfer node for anything that requires a huge amount of power. You'll notice here it can store 1 million RF. You should note that there is now also a liquid storage mechanic part of Extra Utilities called drums. These guys by default can hold about 256 buckets in a nice little compact space there. You'll notice that when you right click on it, it tells you how much is in there. And another nifty ability is that if you do fill it up with water, when you go ahead and break it and pick it up, it'll tell you in your inventory how much is stored in there. So it's a great and easy way to transport your liquids around. Water drum is a very nice way to get stuff. Now, another type of drum that you could get is a bedrock Bedrockium drum. Now this drum, again, requires Bedrockium ingots. So those things are pretty expensive, as you might imagine. We'll get into taking those up in a minute here. Basically, the Bedrockium drum can store 65,000 buckets, right? Yeah, 65,000 buckets. So 65 million millibuckets, or 65,536 buckets of liquid in one drum. Not too shabby. A huge amount of liquid storage in a very small and compact space, but all right, we've already seen Bedrockium twice now. Let's cover how to get some. So Bedrockium is a pretty complicated thing to make. First off, you're going to need a block of diamond. Pretty expensive already. You're also going to need 4 quadruple compressed and 4 triple compressed cobblestone. So lots and lots of cobblestone surrounding a block of diamond can compress down into a Bedrockium ingot. You can make blocks of Bedrockium with 9 ingots, and you can do the opposite as well. And then another option for making these guys, I think, is some really compressed cobble. So basically, another way to get Bedrockium, you can directly get it a block of Bedrockium by getting some octuple compressed cobblestone. So that's 43 million cobblestone. Believe it or not, that does take quite a long time to get and craft. Anybody who's played Agrarian Skies or have tried this before knows I'm not kidding. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 43 million really is quite a large number for cobblestone. So it's not that easy to get. It might even be easier to go the block of diamond route, believe it or not. But Bedrockium ingots, one other effect of them, if you're carrying them around, you'll notice that you get a slowness effect. Slowness 4, not a lot of fun to have on, so make sure that you're ready to use it when you need it. But otherwise, it's a pretty nifty block. You can use it for a handful of different things. You can get the block and the drums, like I mentioned, and it's also used in the watering can, the reinforced watering can, and it's used in some QED recipes. So a couple things Bedrockium is good for. Now, one of the neat and nifty tools are angel wings that you can get. Angel wings are crafted using a nether star, and there's a couple different options. You also need some unstable ingots, so it's definitely an endgame item. Once you get a nether star, you have access to these things, but you have a bunch of different options. Just having them in your inventory, anywhere in your inventory, gives you the ability to fly with creative mode flight. So just a double space bar, and you're up in the world, and you won't take any fall damage. Definitely a powerful item, but again, it does require a nether star, so it's not something you're going to be getting too early in game. You have a couple different options for your wing types. If you want to have something cool like dragon wings or angel wings or golden wings, all kinds of different stuff. If you prefer to have just an invisible set of wings, those are crafted with glass, and you can always upgrade or change them out pretty quickly. You can, use feathers to turn them into feathery wings, and you can get some fairy wings with purple dye and dragon wings with leather. So a couple different options there. Like I said, keep them in your inventory. You can fly. So the next mechanic I want to talk about, I need to warn you guys ahead of time, okay? I'm not even kidding with this. This is something that you need to be completely aware of. This is a powerful mechanic that is just getting started. First off, you're going to need an etheric sword, okay? This is a shaped crafting recipe of unstable ingots and obsidian. This will get you a nifty sword that you can run around and kill stuff with. One thing that you can do is sacrifice just a little bit of your life. All you have to do is place the etheric sword in a crafting grid on your player, and you'll be able to get yourself a soul fragment. This is a very powerful tool and a very powerful item used for some pretty complex crafting. The downside is that when you do this, notice my health bar down at the bottom. I've got the standard 10 health. Yoink. Ouch. You feel diminished. Yeah. Negative 10% max health. That definitely hurts. This is irreversible. So I need to warn you guys, definitely consider the consequences of only having 9 health instead of 10 total. For right now, the only thing you can use the soul fragment for is the reinforced watering can. So if we check that out, reinforced watering can, it's definitely a very nice device. One, it greatly increases the speed at which things grow, and number 2, it greatly increases the range. I think it's looks like almost 9x9 range. So you can very quickly grow plants. You can very quickly grow all kinds of stuff. And the other nice thing about this is you can place it into an autonomous activator or a turtle or something along those lines to help it water, so it can be automated. But keep in mind, like I said, you need a soul fragment, and those things are pretty expensive considering, youch, they take away some of your max health. Hey, there goes even more. That's no fun. So, you typically don't need more than one, luckily, because as you note, or you do actually need more than one, that's right, you will use it up when you craft. So keep that in mind. Right now you don't need more than one because there's really only one thing you can get, which is the reinforced watering can. But, maybe you want to have a couple farms automated with that thing. I don't know. Definitely a dangerous thing. Like I said, at this time, no way to reverse it. It's something I believe Tema is considering adding a way to reverse it, but it's going to involve a complicated ritual. So there's a couple more nifty mechanics I want to introduce you guys to. If you have any items that can be charged with redstone flux. So for example, if we were to take a look at maybe that redstone flux sword or some of the other tools that we can get here, let's take a look. Here it is, the Flux Infused Sword. Placing that inside any of these energy transfer nodes, you can actually use the energy transfer nodes to charge anything that can accept redstone flux. You'll notice its internal buffer is charging up here. Pretty neat way to charge your tools if you want to go that route. So I do want to mention to you one way to get your health back from those soul fragments. This is the soul of a forgotten deity. Right click to restore max health to normal. This is a creative mode only item. So you'll notice here that when you right click it, you're getting your health back. That's kind of nice. I like it. I wonder if I can use it when I'm at full. No, apparently not. So long story short, if you do go ahead and make these soul fragments and you feel like cheating, you can get your health back by going in and getting this creative mode only item. But unless you're an op on the server or you're in single player and you cheat the item in, there's no way to get this soul fragment at all. It's basically, it is what it is unless you, cheat. Now let's switch gears and head back to the generators discussion. So remember I showed you all the different generators back in part 1 of this spotlight. Now I want to show you that there's an upgraded form of generators by way of the 8x generator type. So basically you need 8 of these generators plus a transfer node to get a generator that's basically going to operate like 8 of them stored in one block. So if I place down the survivalist generator and I get some coal, remember that in the regular survivalist generator, this thing produced 5 energy per tick and it required about a little more than 13 minutes to run. This guy is going to generate exactly the same amount of energy, but you'll notice that it's creating 40 per tick and it's running over the course of about a minute to a minute and a half. So the upgraded generators basically act like, 8 of them in one, but it still uses the same amount of fuel. So for example, if I were to get the furnace generator and we made the 8x version of it right here, this guy, when you throw coal in there, normally would take a little bit while to run. Let's see, what is it, 40 seconds was it? Let's break and replace this guy. You'll also notice, by the way, that these generators, when you break and replace them, should retain their storage charge, which is kind of nice. Won't retain the item though. So yeah, it takes about 25 seconds to run, where the 8x version should be maybe 3 seconds. Lots of power though, right? So 8 times the power, 1/8 the running time. Definitely a very cool and powerful way to do it, especially useful and a good reason to have those hyper energy transfer nodes when you want to create large amounts of power. So that's one version of the generator. Now, if you really want to get a little bit crazy with this thing, you could go ahead and make yourself the 64 version, which requires 8 of the 8x multipliers. So think of these almost like the compact solars mod, but instead of just being for solar generators, it's for every type of generator from extra utilities. These guys require a hyper energy transfer node, so you do need a bit of bedrockium ingot and 4 transfer nodes just to get this guy crafted. But you'll notice that the furnace generator here, let's see if we can even see what happens when we throw a piece of coal in there. It should be so fast. 2560 RF per tick for about half a second. Pretty darn quick. But it will create lots of power. If we throw a block of coal in there, you'll notice that it lasts for about, what was that, 4 seconds? Yeah, but 2,560 RF per tick. Now the opposite of that is down here, lasts about a little more than 4 minutes. So 64 times the power generation, 1/64th the generation time. Pretty cool. So I could see that being very useful for the solar generator, for example, if we had the 64x version. The only downside, of course, is, all right, so granted you're getting 2,560 RF per tick, but you definitely do need to throw a redstone signal on there and, get that energy out somehow. Neat. By the way, each solar generator requires a block of diamond, so you're going to need 64 blocks of diamond in order to get yourself a solar generator times 64, so it's not something you're really going to get too early in the game. So here's a nifty gadget. It's called the heating coil. You're going to need to go ahead and charge this thing up with some RF energy. It can hold up to about 1,000,000 RF. What you can do with the heating coil is use it to power, for example, a furnace. Unfortunately, it's a little bit inefficient, so it's not probably going to replace your standard furnace option. But if you go ahead and throw the heating coil in there and throw some cobblestone in, you'll notice that the furnace will basically draw energy out of the heating coil to do each smelting operation. So let's see how much is lost here. We went from 94,000 to 84,000, so about 10,000 RF per smelted item. So not super efficient, but a pretty neat mechanic and a nifty way maybe for some early game mechanics when you have a small amount of power generation or something like that. So you can obviously see here that the heating coil is capable of storing some energy and using it to cook stuff in a vanilla furnace. And another recently added cosmetic block is this nifty thing, Lapis Lazuli, which I'm pretty sure he added in there just to make me pronounce that on camera and do it totally wrong. But basically you need some of the colored bricks around a unstable ingot, and there's a bunch of different ones that you can get, pretty much every color of the Minecraft rainbow. The white ones are pretty bright. They emit a decent amount of light, and they are definitely a neat looking block. They have almost no shading whatsoever. White's definitely the bright one, where some of the others here are not quite as bright. So they do emit some level of light. Different ones emit different brightness levels. So you can see the red one is kind of dim, almost no light at all released. But different light levels and different cool mechanics. I like them, and you can of course use them for pipe jacketing here. So if we wanted to throw this on some pipe jacketing, oh yeah, look at that. Well, maybe it's not rendering. That's interesting. Let's see if the green one renders. It definitely emits light, so that's cool. Let's get the white one here. Interesting. All right, bug report for Tema. And along with the other multi-block options that he added, like fences. So if you want fences that glow, sure, why not? They're also not rendering. Wonder if that's some kind of multi-part bug on my screen. That might not be Extra Utility's fault. So don't go blaming Tema just yet. But yeah, that's pretty neat stuff. Oh, and how could I forget about the impossible objects? These are basically multi-blocks that are somewhat impossible to have exist. So let's take a look here. You'll notice that basically you can take any block that is multi-block capable. So let's go with a block of diamond. You need an unstable ingot block, and you need some blocks of diamond slabs and some diamond covers, or pretty much whatever you want to make the impossible object out of. So if you want it to be quartz, if you want it to be silverwood planks, if you want it to be iron, the impossible objects are somewhat round. Neat, right? So those are multi-blocks, as you could guess, and they are pretty much impossible objects. Neat, though. Alright guys, and with that, I think I've covered all the new and fancy stuff available in Extra Utilities. So there's obviously a ton of content added to this mod since the last time I did a spotlight. Lots of nifty mechanics, lots of quality of life things. Definitely very cool having the energy transfer nodes and energy pipes. I think as many of you know right now, Thermal Expansion's piping system doesn't exist. It's currently being worked on, so these are definitely a very strong alternative. The energy extraction pipes and the transfer nodes are definitely very useful, and the item transfer stuff that you can do with transfer nodes is also very powerful. And of course there's fluid transfer nodes, which we didn't really cover because they didn't really change too much, so there wasn't much to see there. But overall, lots of cool features and updates courtesy of RW Tema. Hope you guys enjoyed part 2 of the Extra Utilities Spotlight. For now, Direwolf20 signing off. Take it easy.